So everything's going good with you, right?
Everything's going great. I know you guys had a little storm there. How's everyone doing there?
Everybody's doing good. Everybody's doing good. We're new to this part of Georgia, so we're not really used to tornadoes. We're from Tampa. And so we're used to hurricane season, but you get a warning. But, and in Georgia, it's tornadoes, man. They can come out of anywhere,
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah.
Scary.
And so I got you on my monitor. Right here, but obviously the camera's right here. So I'm going to kind of be jumping between. So, we're going to kind of just get started. So we can kind of jump into what you do, how you do it.
Absolutely.
And just to make a quick introduction, this is my co-founder and wife, Nikki Vincent.
Hi there.
Hi, Nikki. Pleasure to meet you.
How are you?
And I don't know if you had a chance to do any research about us, but
I sure did.
We've been around for a while. The only thing that's new about what we're doing is now we're raising awareness versus having a training center. And so, and that's kind of the page that we're on right now, which is why we started the podcast. But I'm very interested to hear about you, what you've been up to. I jumped on your website. I've seen some of the things that you guys are into. I love the sidekick approach because you guys are like the Batman, or I guess the Robin to the Batman.
That's right.
There's a whole marketing approach that you guys are taking, which I think is great for the agency that does what you do. So tell us a little bit more about your concept, how you got started, and just go from there.
Absolutely. Well, just thank you again. I had a chance to look at, all your videos as well. And, being a voice for the special needs community and, and realizing that, people with disabilities are just different. They're not any less. And that's kind of been our motto there, the whole thing. So I was really excited to have this conversation with you and speak with like-minded individuals and people who are about,
I feel the same way.
Others. But I'll just get right to it. Every superhero needs a sidekick. That's what we're all about. It's a company I started 8 years ago when I was a senior in college. I grew up in a family restaurant business, Greek background. So yes, we had a diner. I was there from like 8 years old on, and I was the first person to graduate from college from my family. Both my parents are Greek immigrants. And then my mom's a special needs assistant in a school district, and she would come home and she would say how both parents can't be at the parent-teacher conference because they just can't find the right person, to support their individual at home. And I just thought of that as, a problem. All businesses, all entrepreneurial ventures starts with, fixing a problem. Right. And I just didn't think that was right. And I have two close family members who I grew up with, similar in age, and they had some support that would come in the home. And it was people that, both were nonverbal. So they couldn't say, hey, this guy came to the house. He was on the TV. He was supposed to hang out with me. He didn't really hang out with me. He ate all my food. He, didn't really support me in my needs. And, I kind of witnessed that growing up. And then, my entrepreneurship class came around. It was time to do a project. And I just thought, let's just try maybe a tutoring service for people with disabilities.
That's great. We've heard a lot of those horror stories as well. The people go through the program. They get set up with a provider, a service provider. At that point, they meet somebody who doesn't really fulfill their goals, and they just take advantage of the system. They get the paycheck, and they just come in and they do just minimal work, and the person doesn't really get serviced, or nothing improves about that individual's or consumer's life.
And the problem is that there are slim pickings. This is an industry where there's a lot of dishonest people who think they can make a quick buck, and they take advantage of the consumers. And those are what we're trying to bring awareness to now, or always actually, since we've been in the community and we saw these things happening, just like you said, they're really in it for the money. And really, that's not what we want for our family members, to have someone who's just in it for the dollar bill.
Now, everybody has to get compensated for what they do, and I totally agree with that.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, the providers do not get paid enough for what they do. But at the end of the day, it has to be done with a good heart. So
yeah, you have to. I tell people, a couple things. You have to be in it for the outcome, not the income. You taught that individual to tie his shoes. I still remember the first person that taught me how to tie my shoes. And that's people that the government can take taxes from you. People can steal things from you, but no one can take those experiences that you impacted on somebody else. And selfishly, that's what I, love to do. I love to be responsible for, hey, Niko's program helped my son grow, or, you know, my job at Sidekicks made me a better teacher. That's it's like, that's what it's all about to us. And, and quality has always been, a big piece of it, because we have a reputation. This has my name on it. This is something that, I really developed over 8 years now. And, we don't have the most amount of families. I mean, we only have 67 families. We grow slowly. But quality is our biggest thing. And we're just trying to change that, and trying to get rid of that, narrative.
I totally agree with that. And how long have you guys been in business?
So we started it took me about a year to develop it in 2012. And then we, started our first family in 2013, really just doing private, mentoring, companionship services. And then it got as I got more familiar with the field, I noticed that I can get involved in helping other ways. And, that's when we got involved in doing applied behavior analysis, speech therapy, services for, adults, and I'm not familiar how it is, in your area, but, when you turn 21 in New Jersey, you get a budget and you can have access to different services.
Exactly. It works the same way. It works the same way. Yeah.
It's similar. So, really just a comprehensive multitude of services, that really, for us, we kind of, just touching on, people who are not in it for the right reasons, we became very core value focused, and just made our purpose so simple that our purpose is to enrich the lives of individuals that we serve. So if you're late, if you're not taking data, if you're on your phone, if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, it makes it very easy for us to kind of let those kind of people go from our organization, because, hey, that's not enriching the lives of the people that we serve. It's very simple what our mission is, and that's just, ever since we've done that, we've been a lot more successful. We only had 1 or 2 people, we've had to let go over the last couple of years.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. What are some of the big changes you see happening in the industry? We see a lot of changes. We just relocated from Tampa, Florida. I think I mentioned that to you already. So we did exactly what you're doing, providing direct services to consumers with special needs. And we dealt with mostly adults 18 and older, coaching services, employment services, personal support services, and so forth, companion services as well. We see a change happening in the industry where now they're going all digital. And now they're going to require people to have an app on their phone, with the service providers to have an app on their phone. When they check in with a consumer, they have to hit that app. Once they leave the consumer, they have to hit the app, and the app has GPS tracking as well. Do you see anything like that in your area, or have you been hearing any whispers of that in the community?
I have not heard it from my area. I actually heard it from, the company that we use just to clock in, for our staff to clock in, clock out on their phones. I think it's called geo tracking or something like that. Yep. I think that's a great step forward into ensuring that, people are there when they're supposed to be there. And, right. I'm all for something like that, just to even do that. In terms of our scheduling, we do things about a month in advance. Everything's right on paper, when we're going to be there, when our staff are going to be there, and then our staff just, clock in, clock out, accordingly. And we also have timesheets that we double check, and stuff like that too. Just part of our third core value, just doing the right thing. We have to adhere to standards. I like to sleep at night, so I don't want to, I do things the right way.
Exactly.
Exactly. Why even not do it? You're just cheating yourself, cheating the system, and that's not what it's about. Really our message is, individuals with disabilities, are often seen as less, when really, people with disabilities are just different. And, we're just trying to be in a position to where, I think the biggest reason why I started this is because it's so beneficial to have a mentor, to have someone to look up to, someone that is not going to look at you differently, someone who's not going to tease you, someone who's not going to, someone who's going to encourage you. And, I think people with disabilities, a lot of just focus on a disability. How can we, work on this behavior? How can we work on that? And that's important, but what's also important is the social aspect, a simple hello, a simple, how you doing? Simple, hey, what did you do last night? What game did you play? the good days or bad days, we need to get that. And I think we kind of take that for granted. Everyone does, how we can get things off our chest and we feel better about it. And we speak our minds, good times and bad, but people with disabilities have that, and that frustration will build up over time. And, if we can be that program that comes in and understands that and, is not going to talk to an 18-year-old like a 3-year-old, because they have a disability. We're going to talk to like an 18-year-old. Yeah, we might joke around with them too, because, we're treating everyone the same,
Exactly.
If one of my guys is an Eagles fan, I'm going to, hey, I'm a Giants fan, man. I don't like,
oh yeah.
It's like, so I think really just, it just goes back to the old rule, treat everyone how you would like to be treated, and that's just really what we're trying to do, and just fulfill people's potential, and just not focus on, the negatives, and focusing on the positives, and being that social outlet for families and, our individuals.
Man, I agree. I agree. Some of my most memorable moments with my consumers was driving in the car on the way to go take them to shop or to achieve one of their goals. Having that personal time in the car where we're joking, listening to the same songs, reciting lyrics. Those little moments in between when we're actually getting their goals met were some of the most special moments. So I totally agree with you. You have to treat them like a friend. You have to treat them like a family member. And that's really what it boils down to. And at the end of the day, it's like we were close with their grandmas. We was close with the mothers or whoever they were living with at home in their home scenario. And so that's important to actually know the family, which is considered the natural support. And all of us are part of the circle of support, but the families are the natural support. And it's good for all of us, within the circle of support to have a connection with each other. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so important. Those little things, the little things that you don't expect, like to have those, little moments that you'll remember forever,
Right.
that make it worthwhile, make it, it's what you want to do. It's what you want to give back. And it's just a great thing.
They are family. So then you go, okay, well, they're basically our age. Their parents are getting older. What are they going to do once their parents are no longer here? How are they going to be able to self-sustain themselves? How can they get the education? You care about these things. So I think what you're doing is a wonderful thing. And like you said, we want to work with like-minded people. So we're so proud to basically be talking to you today and getting this information so that we can give it out and people can hear it.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people don't know about what goes on behind the scenes. They see somebody with special needs in the community, if they have something that's actually noticeable,
Right.
And they don't really know, how's that person getting along? How's that person getting the support they need? How are they paying their bills? How are they here in the store with me shopping right now? So a lot of the stuff that happened behind the scenes, helping their finances stay in place, helping them to be able to, just maintain independence is critical. Now, something that I ran across in my job is crazy goals. I know all of us have seen them. What's some of the craziest goals that you've seen? Because I'm gonna keep it 100% with you. We know that they have limits due to whatever skill sets they might be bringing to the table. What are some of the goals that you've had coordinators put on their documents saying they want to meet this goal that you knew off the top, like, hey, this goal is a little outside of their wheelhouse? Have you ever dealt with that?
Oh, in terms of goals, there's, as you guys know, you run into so many different individuals who have so many different, interests and, capabilities and, amazing things that, I had one individual who could tell you like every, score of every Yankee game and the box score and stuff like that. But, just in terms of like goals, I don't know anything like in particular, outside the realm, because really anything's attainable within the goal. And there's so many different kinds of goals, that we could be doing that, we just in terms of things that we do, brushing activities of daily living, so we'll set a schedule for, brushing teeth and, so we might master the first step of just picking up the toothbrush, for a month, and then the next step is, we might another month just applying the toothpaste, so I mean, variety of different goals. It takes time. It's just amazing how some of our behavior analysts will break things down, and their methods of reinforcement, and just the way that they can work on these things, and in a fun way too. It's
right.
Yep.
Well, it's amazing.
Yep. I've had coordinators write down that this person wants to learn, this individual wants to learn how to drive, for instance, or something like that. When knowing that in this particular case, the individual had a few different levels of challenges, and driving was something that was really outside of that wheelhouse for that individual at the time, when they were still getting to learn, having to learn stuff like brushing their teeth, stuff like paying their bills on time,
right.
Just smaller, more basic tasks. And the coordinator put down, that she wants, that the individual said that they want to learn how to drive. And I'm like, hey, and I didn't go to that particular meeting, so I didn't have a voice in making that final decision. And of course, it's all about their independence, so they get to make that decision. But we normally sit down as a team and discuss, hey, what goals do you think they should have? And then they ask the individual, what goals do you think they should have? In this particular situation, I wasn't there at the meeting, and they put down, he wants to learn how to drive. And I was like, hey, we have to address that. So I had to have a talk with them. And we had to, update the support plan to reflect the new goal.
Right.
So that's what I was asking you that question for, because I don't know if you came across that. Me and Nikki both have come across that, where we want them to thrive, we want them to be independent, but we have to truly take baby steps to get them to the point that maybe one day they could drive. Well, but right now they have other tasks that they should try to master first.
And also, if they're having seizures, and we know this, we know that maybe they can't drive, and they have to take that or look at that as a possibility also. Yes, they may be able to drive if we get your seizures, handled or under, but 9 out of 10 times that's probably not going to be possible.
Yeah, it's a lifelong thing that they have to go through. And so that's it.
It's tough. And I just want to touch base on that too. You're involved with this individual, and it just takes a team effort, and it's just like, it's so important, it would have been great if you were there, to kind of voice that perspective, and, because you're with that individual in certain times and you understand this individual so, I mean, that is great. And that, it's a team perspective too. And it takes a team to really build a plan and put it together. It's not just one person that can really do it.
I agree. So, I don't know, you have any more questions for?
Yeah. Well, how many people do you have in your organization?
So we have 2 full-time staff. We have a chief operations officer. Her name is Jamie. She's been in the field for about 30 plus years. Okay. And she is like the spine of what we do. She's the backbone. She runs all of our programs, from a clinical perspective, and, all of our staff. Our other full-time staff member is Ashley, who actually started out as just a sidekick, and actually now is part of our management team. And she, does a lot of our interviewing and hiring and things of that nature. And then we have about 50 plus part-timers that work out in the field, between our behavior therapy services, our speech therapy, our state-funded Medicaid services, and our adult services. So
that's great. That's great. And so, so how can people get in contact with you? And how can they, kind of follow with you on social media or whatever? Go ahead and put your information out there so people can contact you.
Sure. So, we're actually fairly new, to Instagram. We just started a couple months ago. Once my older relatives in Greece, I saw they got Instagram. I think it was time for me.
You can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. I mean, I'm not in love with social media like that, but we had to get involved. I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
It comes down to, do you really want to spread your message or not? And this is whether you like it. I don't like social media per se, but it does have its advantages for spreading a positive message. So I got behind that. But we're on Instagram, Sidekicks Support, Facebook.com/Sidekicks Support. We just launched a brand new website yesterday too, actually. So sidekicksupport.com. And even if I know we're a couple miles apart, but it's nice to connect. And even share different stories and strategies, and even difficult times too. Sometimes we have to have difficult conversations to move forward. So I'm glad we were able to connect, and I hope to come down. I've been to Georgia once. I loved it. Maybe we'll cross paths. I would love that, and to have a in-person conversation with you too. But thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you.
I appreciate what you guys are doing too, and let's definitely stay connected.
Okay,
Thank
I totally
you.
agree.
Well, it was a pleasure talking to you. So we are going to stay in touch. We're going to become our own little circle of support.
I love it.